The people who retire with no debt over $2 million, saved a pension lined up, and Social Security ready, are supposed to be the happiest group in America. They did everything right. They followed the plan. They hit the number. And for the first 6 months, it feels exactly like that. Freedom, travel, rest, a life they've been delaying for decades finally begins. But then something strange happens. Around month 7, without any warning, without any financial problem, something starts to feel off. Not in their bank account, in their days, because the part that breaks isn't the part anyone planned for. For most of your life, retirement is treated like a math problem. Do you have enough saved? Will your portfolio last? What's your probability of success? And today there are entire systems built to answer those questions. Retirement planning software projections, Monte Carlo simulations. They can map out your future in numbers with incredible precision. They can tell you if retiring at 62 works. They can show you what happens if markets drop. They can even stress test scenarios like inflation or lower returns. So naturally, you trust it, because everything about that system feels objective, measurable, certain, and over time, without even realizing it, you start to believe something very simple. If the numbers work, life will work. That once you cross that financial finish line, everything else will just fall into place. Your time will feel meaningful. Your days will feel full. Your life will somehow organize itself. But here's the part almost no one questions. None of those systems ever ask what your life actually looks like after the numbers are solved. And that assumption is exactly where things start to break. Layer 1. You did everything right. No debt. Over $2 million saved. A pension lined up. Social Security ready. You retire at 62, and every metric says the same thing: you're safe. There's no pressure anymore. No deadlines. No urgency. For the first time in decades, nothing is chasing you, and that feels like winning. Layer 2. The first 6 months feel like confirmation. You travel, you rest, you finally do the things you kept postponing. Mornings feel lighter. Even boredom feels like a luxury you've earned. It all seems to prove the system was right. You made it. Layer 3. Then month 7 arrives, and nothing happens. No crisis, no loss, just a quiet shift. Days begin to blur. Weekdays and weekends lose meaning. The freedom that once felt expansive starts to feel heavy. And that's when the real problem begins, because it doesn't announce itself like a failure. Layer 4. The plan worked exactly as designed. Your portfolio holds, your income streams show up. Nothing breaks. The numbers do what they were supposed to do. From a financial standpoint, this is a complete success story. There's no gap to fix, no adjustment to make. On paper, everything is still perfect. Layer 5. But the plan never asked the most important question. Every projection answered, "Can you retire?" None of them asked, "What are you retiring into?" That question doesn't show up in any model. It doesn't get a percentage. It doesn't get stress tested. And yet it's the one question that quietly determines everything that follows. Before we go further, think about this. If you stopped working tomorrow, what actually fills your day? Layer 6 work was doing more than you thought. It gave your time shape. It gave you people. It gave you a reason to show up, because what you lost wasn't obvious until it was gone. Layer 7. The 3 invisible risks. First, identity. For years you had a simple answer to, "Who are you?" It was tied to what you did. Remove that and the question comes back without a clear answer. Second time. More time sounds like freedom, but without structure, it turns into something heavier. Days stretch, but they don't feel meaningful. Third, relationships. 2 people can retire into completely different expectations. One wants movement, the other wants rest, or suddenly you're together all day, every day, and it's more than either of you expected. Layer 8. And here's the uncomfortable part. The more disciplined you were, the more vulnerable you might be now. Because if your identity was built around working, achieving, and optimizing, then removing that doesn't create freedom. It creates a gap. Layer 9. This wasn't just a theory. His name was Mark. He retired at 62 with no debt, more than $2 million a pension, and strong Social Security. For 6 months, everything felt right. Then month 7 came, and something didn't. And that's the part no one plans for. What happened to Mark wasn't unusual. That's what makes it dangerous, because nothing in his financial plan failed. The projections held, the income showed up, the system did exactly what it promised. And that's the problem. The system was never designed to replace what work quietly provided for decades. It was designed to get you out of work, not to build something meaningful in its place. So when work disappears, it doesn't just free up time. It removes an entire structure you didn't realize you were relying on. Your identity anchored in what you did. Your days shaped by where you needed to be. Your relationships built around people you saw every week. Take that away, and what you're left with isn't pure freedom. It's unstructured space. And unstructured space over time doesn't feel like possibility. It starts to feel like drift. This is why the paradox shows up so clearly. The people who were most disciplined, the ones who saved, consistently optimized every decision, built their lives around long-term goals, are often the same ones who struggle the most here. Because they didn't just build wealth. They built their identity around the process of building it. So when that process ends, it's not just a schedule that disappears. It's a sense of direction. And unless something intentionally replaces that, that space doesn't stay empty. It slowly turns into something else. So the real question isn't just how do you retire? It's what replaces the system you're leaving behind. Because the people who actually enjoy retirement don't rely on time to magically organize itself. They build a different kind of structure, one that isn't tied to a job, but still gives their life direction. Not rigid, but intentional. They find some form of purpose, not in productivity, but in contribution. That might be mentoring someone, volunteering, teaching, or simply being useful in a way that feels meaningful. They create light structure, not a packed schedule, but rhythms. A reason to wake up at a certain time, a place to be. Something that anchors the day so it doesn't dissolve into sameness. They maintain connection, not occasional but consistent. People they see regularly. Conversations that don't require planning weeks in advance. Because without that, isolation can quietly replace the social life work once gave them. And they keep growing. Not because they have to, but because stopping entirely doesn't feel good for very long. Learning something new, pushing themselves in small ways, staying mentally engaged. This isn't about adding pressure back into life. It's about replacing what was lost, before you feel the loss. Money was never the destination. It was the tool that got you there. But somewhere along the way, it became the only thing you measured, the only thing you optimized, the only thing you trusted to tell you when you were ready. And it worked, just not in the way you expected. Because you can retire at 62 with no debt, over $2 million of pension and Social Security fully lined up, and still feel like something is missing. Not because you failed, but because you solved a different problem. So, before you ask, "Can I retire?" ask something harder. What exactly am I retiring into? And if you don't have an answer yet, that might be the most important thing to figure out.